Here's the famous chicken. He entertains us at baseball games and other sporting events. If he weren't an entertainer, the chicken could have lots of jobs. He might be a taxi driver, or maybe a salesperson, a custodian, or even a baseball coach. Chickens and people can make their livings in different ways, working to pay their bills and buy the things they want. The chicken performs, and his fans are happy to pay to see him. But what is it they pay and he earns? We call it money. But do we know much about it? Like where it comes from, what it is, and what makes it valuable? Money can be hard to understand. Chickens are easier. In this program, the famous chicken will show 6 key ideas to help us understand money and its importance in our market economy. The first and most important of these ideas is exchange. In a market economy, an exchange is a voluntary agreement involving the transfer of goods or services, things people own or things people do. I said voluntary. The transfer takes place because of a difference in value preferences. The chicken values the baseball more than he values the autographed picture of himself. While for the baseball player, the opposite is true. Because of this difference in values, both are willing to exchange. Now, isn't that more reasonable than fighting over it? When one thing is traded for another, it's called direct exchange or barter. When people and chickens first began exchanging goods, they established the first economics called barter economics. But barter has its disadvantages. For one thing, when one of the chicken's neighbors drove a hard bargain, he found that it's not always easy for things to be divided into amounts which make exchange convenient. For another, one person just might not want what the other has to offer. Difficulties such as these led to the development of indirect exchange. Suppose the chicken traded one of his pictures for something the owner of the glasses would want. Through indirect exchange, the wants of both could be satisfied. This leads us to our second key idea, medium of exchange. A medium of exchange is anything that enables an indirect exchange to take place. In addition to providing a refreshing snack, the ice cream cones enabled the chicken to obtain things he wanted. Some substances or commodities are so useful as a medium of exchange that becomes their main use. We call these commodities money. Many factors determine whether a commodity is valued as money. These include how long its value will last, how easily it can be carried or divided up, and how easy it is to make sure it's real. Another important factor is the relative scarcity of the commodity. A cold drink on a hot day. But there's no such thing as a free soda. Some things are just so common that no one would ever accept them as money. Right, chicken? But what about money today? After all, most of it's only paper, and we can find plenty of that in any trash can. Well, originally, because of its convenience, people began using paper to represent money. You see, although people in various societies chose the most desirable commodities to use as money, no money was perfect. In fact, there were times when money got to be a downright pain in the neck. To solve this and other problems, people began using money substitutes, our third key idea. A money substitute is something which, for one reason or another, is used instead of the actual money commodity itself. Money substitutes at one time were simply warehouse receipts. They served as proof that their owners had the real money stored safe and sound in money warehouses, or to use a more familiar name, banks. Since everyone else knew that the receipts were as good as money, they were willing to accept them as payment, even though the receipts were made only of paper. Our paper money was originally a warehouse receipt substitute for gold and silver, which throughout history have been two of the most popular money commodities. At first, there were large numbers of banks which issued banknotes representing the gold and silver stored in their vaults. For a number of reasons, however, laws were passed discouraging and eventually prohibiting the use of private banknotes. Soon, the only notes in circulation were those issued by the federal government. As with all money substitutes, the notes were backed by real money, gold and silver, kept in storage. In more recent years, however, the connection between paper substitutes and gold and silver has been removed. Today's paper money, called Federal Reserve notes, is no longer a money substitute. The notes themselves are money, valuable because of legal tender laws, our fourth key idea. Just as the rules of a game say what players can and cannot do, legal tender laws say that the paper money printed by our government must be accepted as a medium of exchange. They're valued and used in exchange only because people know others will accept the notes for things they want, whether gold, coconuts, or paper. The amount of money in use is called the money supply, the fifth key idea. The importance of the money supply is not what it is, but what it does. Suppose, for example, that all of a sudden everyone had twice as much money. Many of us would no doubt jump for joy. But hold on there. This idea may not be all it's cracked up to be. Since everyone is in the same situation, all are equally eager to buy. But storekeepers are no dummies. With all that money going around, they aren't about to get left out. Such an increase in the money supply, where there's no accompanying increase in the number of goods available, is called inflation. Although in the end, only the numbers will change, inflation hasn't earned its bad reputation for nothing. Since prices do not always go up right away when the money supply increases, inflation will always help some and hurt others. Suppose one day in Chickenfeed, our feathered friend was the only one to receive a great deal of new money. As always, prices would adjust to the larger supply of money, but not before quite a shopping spree. What about shoppers who didn't arrive till later? They faced higher prices, but with the same amount of money they had before. Whenever inflation occurs, the first to use the new money benefit, while the last are hurt. In our society, government controls the money supply. Paper money no longer serves as just a money substitute. It is money. So like our friend the chicken who had coconuts rain down upon him, the government has the power to rain paper money upon us. And being the first user, government benefits the most. No matter what a society uses for money and who controls its amount, the principles behind money are the same. Let's review the 6 important principles the chicken has helped to explain. Our market economy is based on exchange. An exchange is a voluntary agreement between individuals and involves the transfer of goods or services. When one good is exchanged directly for another, we have direct exchange or barter. An exchange involving goods neither party may want for direct use is called indirect exchange. These goods serve as a medium of exchange and enable indirect exchange to occur. Goods which are valued primarily as a medium of exchange are called money. People may value a substance as money for a number of reasons, such as how practical it is, or how easy it is to identify, or for how scarce it is. When a money commodity becomes inconvenient, a money substitute is often used. Money substitutes are as good as money, since they correspond to money which is safely stored. People may value paper notes which are not money substitutes because they know others accept them in accordance with legal tender laws. The money supply in any economy is the amount of money substance in use. The actual level of the money supply doesn't matter, but when it changes, we can often feel some effects. When the money supply goes up, we have inflation. Inflation benefits the first to use new money, while it hurts the last. For these reasons, whoever controls the money supply has a great deal of economic power. These 6 simple ideas explain the principles of our complex money system. They explain why money is so important in our day-to-day lives. And now you know why, in our market economy, people and chickens are willing to exchange the goods and services they have produced for money.